Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're really excited to have Dr. Ariel Lenning with us tonight. Dr. Ariel Lenning is a medical optometrist, but her path to medicine started somewhere unexpected, anthropology. With a background in biological and archeological anthropology, that's a mouthful, she has always been obsessed with the question of why are humans the way we are? Today, she applies that deep scientific curiosity to the eyeball, treating pathology and helping patients preserve their vision and health span. Dr. Lenning believes in understanding the science behind the system, not just fixing surface problems. Outside the clinic, she's a gamer, a dog mom to an adorable golden retriever puppy named Rafi, and a firm believer that you should never stop asking questions. I absolutely love that. I agree. Never stop asking questions. So we have questions tonight. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
If you'd like to You're welcome. If you'd like to say hello, say hello. We're going to jump right
Hello.
into things. So, Dr. Lenning, you've had some twists and turns in your professional career.
Yes, many,
Briefly
many.
introduce us to the different positions and organizations and how much you've spent in each. So, give us a little rundown of those.
Okay, so like you were saying earlier, my undergraduate degree was in biological anthropology and archaeology, and my main study of focus was analyzing dirt samples, so digs from around the world. I made little tiny Ziploc baggies full of dirt, and be like, "Science these, please." Uh, I then went on to grad school to learn how to run museums and maintain our collections. How do we raise money? How do we build exhibits? All the things it takes to make a museum a place that people want to go and continue its existence. Um, did not finish that master's. I left halfway through that. The program did not end up being a good fit for me after a departmental and curriculum rebuild. And so I left and started kind of trying to figure out what my next thing was. If you had gone back to me in college in my early 20s and told me I was going to be a doctor, I would have laughed you out of the building. At that point in my life, I was the person who purposely went to the lab at like 1, 2 in the morning because I knew no one else was going to be there and I wouldn't have to like chit chat or make small talk. Um, while I was in grad school, I had a job at Lens Crafters, initially as the person in the back making glasses. And then it developed from there to working with patients to pick out their glasses and take all the measurements, and was the job that helped me pay my bills in grad school. Wasn't something I thought I was going to be doing as a career or long term. It was just, I need a job right now to pay my bills. I went to grad school in Indianapolis, came back to Washington. I was an undergrad. So I came home and quit Lens Crafters, did the housewife thing for a little while. My ex-husband had a volunteer job at a nonprofit that was pursuing like greenhouse development for various things here in the Seattle area. And then had to get a job really fast. My ex-husband got laid off. And I was like, what immediately marketable skills I can get a job in that starts next week? Like healthcare is always hiring. So I got on Craigslist, aging myself a little bit here, got on Craigslist, went and looked for a job and found an office in Edmonds that was looking for someone to come in and like work for the doctor as as a doctor's assistant. And went in, worked for them, was there for a few months. And the two doctors that I worked for sat me down and they were like, "What you doing with your life?" At this point, I was 23 and had no idea. And they were like, "You should go be an optometrist. You'll be good at it." And I had already been burned twice. I was like, "I don't know. I don't want to go back to school. Like, this has not worked out well for me." They were like, "No, no, 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 no. You know what I'm saying? You need to be an optometrist. Like, we see it in you. You're going to be great at this. And here's why." And they had a list. And the two of them sat there and went through this list of reasons, real tough, real honest with me. And they were like, we understand you have some misgivings, but that list we just gave you of all the things that are going to make you great as an optometrist, make you real bad at the job you have now. It slows you down and keeps you from being ideal for that job. We know you're going to have to take some prerequisites for optometry school. We looked it up. Registration closes in 3 weeks. So you have 3 weeks to decide. And in 3 weeks, you're either registered for classes or that's your last day.
They said that to you?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. They did.
Wow.
Yep. They're
Plot
like,
twist.
we can't keep you here because you think too much and it makes you not efficient at what we need you to be. But we believe in bringing up the next generation of doctors. So we'll keep you here and teach you and prepare you for school. But if this is all you ever want, it's not a good fit. And so
Wow.
I sat with it and I thought about it and I looked into it. Like, what am I actually going to have to do to be an optometrist?
Which is
And
actually my next question. What was that little determining factor and what did you have to do? Like, what do you do?
so they were right. I did have to take some prereqs. I had started undergrad as material scientist and then had gone into archaeology. And so I had taken what I affectionately refer to as dead things science and had to go back and take also affectionately squishy things science. So I had to go and take a bunch of biology, some biochem, microbiology, just like stuff that I didn't have from undergrad. So I had about half the prereqs, had to go take the rest of them. I took most of it at the community college. Community colleges are an underrated feature. The community colleges around here are so good. I definitely had better teachers as far as like that cared about teaching and were good at communicating ideas and concepts at the community colleges than I did at the UW.
I'm going
Professors,
to echo that with you because I had the same experience. I went to a university and then I switched to a community college. And boy, my community college professors were amazing.
yeah, community college professors are there because they love teaching. Like that is their thing. They are paid peanuts to do it, and they care so much they can't see themselves doing anything else. That's not what faculty at universities are about. Faculty at universities are there for the research, and that's what gets them their jobs and keeps them their jobs is their research, their ability to get grant money, do research, publish papers, and repeat the circle. Teaching is an obligation, not a choice.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. That's a good tidbit there for people who are thinking about making a decision on where do they want to go. We're not saying university is bad, but there are certain things that you go to university for versus I feel like it's this love and passion. Um, you're saying that's
So
a budget
community
cut.
colleges are not part of the school district. K through
Mhm.
12 is funded by property taxes for the most part. Community colleges are funded by their tuition for the most part. They get some money from the government for running Start and a few other things, but a lot of their money comes from their tuition. So if
Yeah,
they're
does
not,
that help answer your question? Um, I think one way I would answer this question too is through Dr. Lenning's story. She was picking up classes along the way, working towards an overall direction. A lot of times there's different paths and different classes. And if you take the majority of classes in a general direction, you kind of think you know what you will do, right? But then you have to figure out there's some specific classes I need to take to finish that, or there's a transition I'm undergoing. And I do want to talk about that actually, this transition. So you were about to share this transition, these few little classes that you needed to take to finish up your degree, which is so important. We can make that transition anytime as long as we keep going, like you said in your bio, keep asking questions, keep being curious, keep plugging away. You were 23, you made the decision to become a doctor. So now what?
yeah, at that point, I graduated UW at 20. Um, and so I'd been out of school for a little while at this point. I do want to say one more thing about your kind of experience, high school versus college. And this is one of the things that differentiates learning as an adult versus learning as a kid. As a kid, they're going to hand you stuff and say, learn this. Here's what you're going to learn. Here's the homework you're going to learn it with. Then we're going to take a test to see that you did. That's not how learning as an adult is. Learning as an adult is very self driven. They're going to say, here are the things, like, here are the big categories that we expect you to know. And here are some mile markers along the way. And we are going to test you at the end, see if you know it. But the learning of it is up to you. That is even in college. That's kind of the transition. As an adult, once you're out of school, the learning doesn't stop. The testing does. The telling,
Yeah,
like the
very
saying,
good point.
here's what you need to go learn, and then we're going to check to see if you did it. That stops. So you're going to have to say, like, internally, here's what I want to learn. Here's how I'm going to go about it. And here, could you pay your bills? um, the adult equivalent of testing. School of Hard Knocks. Can you pay your bills? Did you accomplish the thing that you set out to accomplish? So a lot of the things that kind of start as motivation to learn is there is something that I want to do that I lack the knowledge and skills for at this moment. So, like, one of the things that I'm working on right now, personally, totally outside of my job requirements, is I want to learn how to alter clothing. My dimensions are not something that I find very easily off the rack. And I would like clothes that fit my bust, waist, and hips all at the same time. And so my thing that I'm learning right now is how to alter clothes to both fit and look good. And so the test would be, do I look good in my clothing?
Do the alterations serve the purpose of fitting and aesthetically look nice? Because I do alterations myself and I learned to do that as well. And it's really served me well because you can find something off the rack that maybe is missing a button. Well, put the button back on. So those things, yeah, you're never going to stop learning. This thing is going to be put in front of you to learn the opportunity. And then the test is, what do you get out of it?
Yeah. Or like
So, yeah,
learning how to cook a new thing or a new technique.
yeah,
Did the food
tastes good. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I want to try a different sauce next time. Yeah, it's perfect. So this kind of leads me into my next question. As you're transitioning, you had to take some classes. What was expected versus the unexpected? These doctors are talking to you about like, hey, we think you'd be really good at this. Here's the checklist on why. Did those all meet your expectations, or did you get in and say, that wasn't expecting this?
um no, it was actually they were actually pretty dead on. They clocked me pretty well. Um because at this point I was just learning how to like be human. I'm autistic and I did not figure out how to be convincingly human until my mid 20s. Um, and so that was something that I really worried about, being asked to be this person of authority. But it turns out it's kind of a life hack when you have let. Oh, another question? So a lot of times when you autistic, you don't instinctively understand how the social back and forth is supposed to go. What are the rules? What are the expectations? How am I supposed to act in this situation? Why is that woman mad at me? What did I do? What rule did I break? Um, and this was a forever thing. When I was a kid, the joke used to be Ariel didn't speak girl because like I could not figure out all of the like social nuance of interacting with other girls. And it's something that I still struggle with. But if you are someone who doesn't see the like invisible status hierarchy that exists in the world, and you're always being told like you're just not the kind of person that we see ourselves hanging out with. Like we don't have a want to have a beer with you. You're weird, you're awkward. Getting letters is like the best life hack, because when people see you as somewhere beneath them on the hierarchy and you don't do the appropriate amount of um, verbal subservience, they get very mad. If you don't navigate peer relationships really well, people get mad. If they see you as higher on the hierarchy and you speak to them pretty much however, they're happy. So my thing was I spoke to everyone kind of on the same level. I was never subservient. I was never dominant. I was just like, this is me. This is how I talk. And that level of not caring, if they view you as below them, is disrespectful. If they view you as above them, they're like, oh, this person is so down to earth. They love it. And getting letters is like a shortcut to status on the social hierarchy ladder. It
Yeah.
enables you to be more weird and break more
I think
rules.
Yeah, I want to add, I think it helps you become more of who you are as a person and be free with that because the adult world is very different. There are rules and hierarchies, and getting letters, becoming a doctor does really set you apart. People have respect for that. So it can be an important thing to someone to figure that out. Um, I do want to talk about the factors that helped you make that decision to enter this path. And that's one part of it that you shared. But what about something else? Like, I have had the pleasure of seeing you for an eye exam, and it was one of the best eye exams I've ever had because I've seen you multiple times. So it can't just be one eye exam. You're a great doctor. And one thing about you is that you personally take the time to care. You go above and beyond. You really look at the bigger picture. And I think that as a doctor, it's so important to take the time to do that because you can catch something that someone else might not know about. You can give them that information, and you're serving this greater picture beyond just that one exam. So, does that bring you joy in your career? What else drives you? If that's one
Uh,
thing that brings you joy, what else drives you?
I do. I find being an optometrist to be very gratifying. I get to help a lot of people. I get to make demonstrable changes in their lives. And that is one of my core values is being of service. And any little thing I can do to make someone else's life better brings me that little internal sparkle, makes my day. Personally, I also like the kind of puzzle aspect of optometry and medical treatments. There's a little bit of a puzzle to what is happening, like making the diagnosis. And so I get a lot of that. And that is one of the things that other doctors refer to me are the complicated. I forget who came up with one of the doctors started talking of it and was like, when I was relatively new to the area, I went to school in, oh, I left the area to go to school in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I came back, and the reputation about me was that I was optometry's Dr. House because I loved and was very good at complicated complicated diagnostic puzzles where it wasn't like, oh yeah, this is textbook, disease A. It has symptom blah blah blah, presentation blah blah blah, um, and that every doctor can do. You don't even have to be a doctor to do that. That's what PAs and nurse practitioners do. Like, see textbook example, do thing. But one of the things that differentiates me is I'm very good at the non-textbook presentations. Oh, this is a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Oh, it's that, but being copied, like with a layer of this other thing stuck on top, and kind of picking out all of the different integrated pathologies and saying, okay, we're going to prize this apart. We've got this mixed with this, mixed with this, mixed with that, and we need different treatments for all of them. Uh,
Yeah, that's awesome. Also want to add too, not just treatments, but also different clinics can be an option for an optometrist. Would you mind sharing about the kind of day-to-day, what does that look like for an optometrist? So you're in the office, you're helping people, but what are the hours?
uh,
And do you have to just stay at one clinic or like what are the
so
paths?
there is a lot of freedom as an optometrist, and I take advantage of multiple avenues. In addition to the autism, I also have ADHD. So too much routine. Like I want routine, but not too much. I need the novelty of shaking things up a little bit. And so I do a few different things. 3 days a week, I'm in a clinic doing full scope optometry, just whatever shows up. Sometimes it's a 7-year old getting their first eye exam, new glasses, no medical problem. Sometimes it's like crazy medical. I need you to walk upstairs and go to cardio, or you walk across the street, go to the urgent care, like you're having a stroke kind of stuff. It's just whatever comes in the door. And I do that 3 days a week. 1 day a week, I do skilled nursing facilities, otherwise known as nursing homes. And I have a suitcase full of gear that I load up in my car and I drive to the facility and I see patients in the salon or the dining room or at their bedside. And I do eye exams and medical care around in the facility for patients who have a difficult time leaving and going to community care. And then twice a month, I go up to the tribal health clinic and they have an optometrist on staff who kind of does the everything like I do at my other clinic. And I come in and I'm there 2 days a month to do specialty care. So in addition to being optometry doctor house, I have a specialty in cornea and contact lens. So cornea diseases, minor in office procedures, specialty custom contact lenses, different eyelid treatments, but stuff that most eye doctors don't do. Hired me to come in and provide those services in house. So I come in and I'm there 2 half days a month and I just do these specialty services that have been. So the other doctor has seen them, has been like, yep, they need whatever specialty service this is. But instead of referring it out to another place, they hired me to come do it in house.
Yeah. Would you recommend getting a specialty to someone looking into not just
Yeah.
optometry, but you've been to medical school. So would you recommend someone in medical school or thinking about medical school to get a specialty?
So I went to optometry school. Optometry is like dental. It's not part of regular medical school. So optometrists, dentists, and podiatrists have their own 4-year programs because eyes, teeth, and feet are very, very complicated body parts. And you need 4 years to learn those. And you can't learn them in the same 4 years that you're trying to learn the whole body. So we do just like medical school, kind of 2 years of learning the whole body mixed in with our specialty. And then we do fewer rotations. We do a year of rotations. We do a year at the school, seeing patients half time while we're still taking classes. And then we do a year of external rotations, practicing our clinical skills out in the real world. So, like a doctor with a safety net, doctor with training wheels kind of thing. When you go to med school, you spend 2 years learning about the whole body. And then you spend 2 years, usually 6 weeks at a time, going to different places, kind of watching doctors do those specialties. When you go to medical school, like you can have some input into what specialty you have, but you don't get to decide. That decision is somewhat made for you because specialties in med school are competitive. So there's kind of what's called the lifestyle specialties, dermatology, ophthalmology. Ophthalmologists, eyeball surgeons. So that's what differentiates optometrists and ophthalmologists. Where the medical specialty, they're the surgical specialty, kind of like cardiology and cardiothoracic surgeon, neurology, neurosurgeon. For most body parts, the medical side and the surgical side are separate because one person can't know everything. Like you cannot learn all things. There's too much stuff. You can't be an expert in both.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I'm going to add something because that's a really good point. When we talk about specialties, even in, let's say you want to go to learn how to run businesses, marketing expert, all of these, it's true, if you narrow down your scope and get really specific, you can serve more people. You wouldn't think that would be a thing because you would want to serve everybody. But when you really niche down and understand, I'm good at this,
mhm.
it's going to serve you really well in the real world.
And PhDs are the ultimate version of that. When you get a PhD, you
Yeah.
are like narrowing down to the little teeniest, tiniest thing. And then you're going to the little teeniest, tiniest thing and finding the boundary of what we know and then pushing it out just a little bit. And that's what a thesis is. That's how you get a PhD is make a little push out in the like totality of human knowledge.
Yeah.
But specialties are great. They differentiate you, they focus you, um, they allow you, like, for me personally, learning gets more interesting the deeper I go. And having a specialty is kind of a natural path from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. I have one last question for you to kind of tie it all together because you said in the beginning, and I love it. And one of the things we do at Bridge is we ask this question: what would we want our future selves to know for students? And then what would we want our younger selves to know? So you mentioned earlier, you would have told me I would have been a doctor. I'd call you crazy. But here you are. What would you want your younger self to know?
Don't worry about making the best decisions for your future. Make the best decisions with the information you have now for the person you are now because you don't know. You don't know who you're going to be, and you will be someone different. I promise. You are not going to be the same person at 20 that you were at 18. You're not the same person at 25 as you were at 20. You're not the same person at 30 as you were at 25. And you don't know who that person is going to be. All you can do is make the best decision with the information that you have now and know that almost every decision can be changed. Some decisions are harder to change than others, but there are, with two exceptions, you can change every decision you make in life and just have learned something from the experience. That's how you become an adult. Do things, find out they were not the right thing, and do something else. You got to do something. You can't sit there and do nothing. You got to do something. And the
Yeah.
thing you learn may be never again am I doing that thing.
Yeah.
And
Or I
figuring out why,
definitely don't want to do that in my career.
yeah,
No, I love that.
or I liked
That's,
this thing, but I liked this aspect of this thing, but not that aspect of
yeah.
this thing. And kind of like
Yeah.
finding your way along. Oh, the two exceptions. These are decisions that you are stuck with forever. There is no going back. Death and babies.
Yeah.
Those are forever decisions. And personally, I think that the number one most important decision you will ever make in your life is who to have your babies with. If you have babies, you are
Yeah.
stuck with
It's
that.
true. Hey, question came up. What realistic, actionable next step can students do for their own career exploration, especially into the medical field? Like thinking back at the beginning, what were some of those thoughts and exploration that you
Go
would
shadow
have want them to do?
doctors. So I actually have a
Shadow
high
doctors. Okay.
Yep, we have a high school intern at our clinic right now. She comes in for a couple hours a week and just kind of
Very cool.
follows us around, asks us questions, sees what is it about. Because my clinic's
Mhm.
me and another doctor, so she spent some time with both of us, kind of alternating weeks. But most doctors love having interns. We're in this job because we like it and we like talking to people about it. So reach out to your doctors, or if you see someone who's doing something that you think is cool, even if they're not a doctor, reach out. The number one way to get people talking is ask them about themselves. People love talking about themselves and the things they like. So ask them, hey, can I
Yeah.
come?
Great advice.
Yeah, can I come watch you in clinic or at your job? And most people, it depends on the job, but for the most part, they'll be like, yeah, you can come hang out for an afternoon. But there are some jobs where that's just not feasible. And then they'll usually be like, no, but we can get coffee. You can ask me about it.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, shadowing is such a great way to get to know the field and explore the thought of would I be interested in this? That
Mm.
curious question is so important. But you're absolutely right about giving yourself room to process through who you are now. What do you enjoy? What do you want to do more of? Or what do you not want to do more of? And that's really the transition into kind of becoming that adult you want to be and learning more about yourself. So, yeah, we really appreciate chatting about this whole journey. There was one more little part about your journey that I just want to add, but I want to leave space to see if there's any more questions about the medical side of things, getting into the medical career, because I would really like to talk about the entrepreneurship that you went through with being an eye doctor and having an eye clinic. So, the entrepreneurship, a part of being a medical doctor, what does that look like? Any questions in the time being, feel free to drop them in the chat. And certainly, if you are seeing this recording afterwards, feel free to drop a comment with a question and we will get it back to Dr. Lenning and she'd be happy to respond and talk more about that. So, would you share about entrepreneurship within the medical field?
Yeah, it's so I while going through school was like, yeah, I think I want to run my own practice. And I was working on getting a practice open. And then right before graduation, COVID happened and shut down everything. You guys are all old enough to remember COVID. Everything stopped, including banks lending for new businesses. And so I kind of put the entrepreneurship on pause, came back a couple of years later, picked it back up again, opened the practice, had a bunch of things happen in my personal life that ultimately led to me closing the practice a year and a half later. But is one of those things that like I'm kind of licking my wounds and recuperating, but do ultimately plan on doing again because I do very much like being my own boss and having that level of control over my day to day. Um, Entrepreneurship is not easy. And this is true about medicine too. If you don't want it because it like makes your soul sing, don't do it. There's not enough money in the world to make medicine worthwhile if you don't enjoy it because there are a lot of parts that hurt. Entrepreneurship is the same way. If you don't have it, you're like this is important to me. I want to be my own boss. Like I want to have control. I want the buck to stop with me. Because not only like it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you get to make the decisions about everything, but you bear the repercussions for everything. So you will make some more money, but you best want it for the right reasons because there's not enough money. Um,
Knowing yourself, like you said, like you like to be your own boss. I've tried entrepreneurship. I found that I'm actually a really good VP. I'm the best VP you will ever have in your life. But don't make me the president. Don't make me the boss. I don't like the final say and the final decision, but I
And see,
love supporting people and I will get tasks done.
I'm the flip side. And I tried to be everything with my practice because I had kind of, this goes back to the big person. I'd lost all of my support. And so I was trying to do everything. And I found out that I am an awful VP. I am good at ideas. I am good at like getting people on board and be like, yes, this is great. And here's the idea. And here's how we're going to do it. But I absolutely suck at follow through and sticking with the thing until it's done when they're like big things, especially if I am busy or otherwise overwhelmed. Stuff just doesn't get done. So that's one of the things I learned. Remember, I was saying try things, fail, learn something for the next time. Things I learned from my closed business were you cannot do this yourself. You have to have someone to do this with you, or you will fail again. So I've learned this about myself. I need people to kind of help me get through projects. And this is what you're supposed to be learning in group projects in school, and ultimately isn't necessarily the thing that you learn at group projects in school because everybody has to be there and you can't fire people. So you have people who aren't carrying their weight, but in the real world, it's less like that. There are definitely people who get into positions that don't deserve to be there and aren't doing the work to be there. Um, but society has to fix that problem.
Yeah, that's like everything. But figuring out, I just want to take it back to the concept of figuring out how you work. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Knowing who you are and then figuring that out. You shared you want to get back into entrepreneurship, but now you have experienced it. You know what it's like. And you're saying, hey, you know what? I want to give this another try. I know more about myself now. And maybe I want a business partner, maybe I don't. But all these questions, you can navigate this next season. And I do think it's important to say, too, that there's different seasons in our life. School is a season, high school is a season, young adulthood is a season. And then all these transitions, we really can do whatever we want with our lives. And you might be back to doing entrepreneurship and owning another business. But it's wonderful to see you in this position now and bringing such joy. Don't know what the future holds, but you're open to it.
Mhm.
So, when you were running your clinic, could you just quickly, really quickly walk us through some of the steps that you had to do to get your clinic set up? Did you have to buy equipment? Did you have to get a business license? What are some of those
So,
things? Give us the short list.
yeah, so you got to write a business plan. You got to
Business
what
plan. Okay.
business plan? What am I going to do? How's it going to make money? How much money is it going to make? Because
Hmm.
that's how you're going to get someone to give you a
Loan.
then
Yeah.
you got to convince a bank or someone. Um, there are people who are blessed in this world to have rich parents and like be able to have money, but I was not one of them. I had to convince a bank. But you're convincing somebody, or I'm sorry that your parents are dead and that you come into your inheritance early. But generally, you're convincing somebody to give you the money. And so you need to have a good plan as to how you're going to make that money back. Um, and then once you have convinced someone to give you the money, then you have to spend the money. So you have to find a location. You have to design the location because they come as empty shells. So you have to design the location, pick out all the fixtures. Think of your house and everything in your house that's like the floor plan, all of the like wall textures, paint colors, what the walls are made of, what the floors are made of, what the cabinets are made of, all of it. Like, is this plastic? Is this metal? All of that. You have to pick all of that as endless decisions about how is it going to look? Where is it laid out? Is this room going to be a right hand room or a left hand room? Is it going to have a sink? Where's the sink going to be? Where are we running the plumbing? Where's the electrical? How many outlets do we need? You have to make all of those decisions. You have to buy your equipment. You have to buy your inventory. You have to buy your
Yeah.
display cases. Like, where am I going to
It's
set? How am I going to set up stuff? Buy
great.
all the
It's not
computers.
just play. You don't just get the kit. You have to build the kit. You have to put everything together. And that's a big thing in entrepreneurship. Making sure
Hiring.
that you're exactly making sure you're connected to the right people, hiring people, having there's a lot that goes into it. And it might not be something that you have gone to school for. But again, if it's something that you're willing to figure out and go through the process and you're asking good questions, then sometimes it's worth it. You've mentioned several times that you're learning more about yourself. I always think that's going to be worth it. Like at the end of the day, when you have gone through something, whether it works out or not long term, you're learning something about yourself that you didn't know otherwise.
Mhm.
And you're taking that with you, and that's really valuable. I think that what you shared with us tonight is really valuable, and we value you and your time that you've shared with us. And any last things that you have on your heart or mind that you would like
Uh,
to share?
there is a saying in computer science and like tech startups: fail fast, fail often, because
Mhm.
you're learning something from every failure and you're giving yourself more iterations to do it better. So once
Yeah,
you've identified something as a failure, cut it, learn from it, start the next thing.
yeah. I love that. Can you imagine if Thomas Edison didn't try for the 100th time? He's like, 99, I'm good.
Yeah. World without light bulb.
Failed 99 times, but that one last time, hey,
Yep.
yeah, great advice. Yeah, love it. Thank you again for being here and spending time with us and sharing with students of Bridge Next Gen. Certainly grateful to have you. And thanks for sharing all the tidbits and wisdom. We're going to be sharing this video recording so you can watch it and share it. But like we said, if you have questions, if you're listening to the recording, drop it down below, drop it in the comments. We would love to get back to you. And we're going to be having more speakers. So stay tuned on that. But Dr. Lenning, thank you for your time tonight. We sure
Thank you all
appreciate
so
it.
much for having me.